don't talk to me. I'm serious. Right? And like, why are you laughing? Because that is what is different about that?
Yeah, you did a good job acting that out. The second guy, I didn't want to talk to him. He's not sharing his negative emotion in a productive way. He's doing it in a unproductive way.
Yeah, it's like I'm uncomfortable, so now because it's the world's fault, this goes back to the idea of like bad things that happen to me are because of the outside world, not because of what I did. I'm not being sued because I fucked up, right? That is, this is a super tough conversation to follow, man, because this element we're bringing in where it's like the lack of taking accountability is also a huge component with relationship failures. You start to say something that then would diminish your own anxiety, but actually increase the shared experiential anxiety.
Yep.
Now, if that, once again, this falls into the category of just expressed negative emotion, right?
Yep.
And so we all know that in relationships, if you have, I think it was Gottman, and I've been very angry at Gottman. I'm opposed to him mostly, but his fundamental idea of if we have too many interactions that have negative emotional content, then the relationship will not survive.
Yep.
Just statistically, right?
Yeah.
And there's a formula, I don't know what it is, 10 to 1, 10 to whatever, right?
Yep.
Like, I should know if I'm going to be so mad at him, but whatever.
It's not 10 to 1. It's less than 10 to 1, but it's greater than 2 to 1. It's somewhere in the like 4 to 1 or 7 to 1, somewhere in there.
Right? If you just start pointing out every time like, oh, negative emotion because the world, like, oh, again, it's the world's fault. God, I can't remember which relationship I was in that was like this, but it was unbelievable.
Warning, this podcast is for entertainment only and not intended for medical purposes.
Enter the Freud. Where we've ended up is exactly opposite from what you would think we would see from those early childhood studies. When we look at these early playground studies of what are boys playing and what are girls playing. If girls are playing games that are focused on collaboration and communication for the sake of just having an exchange, there isn't even a focused idea of, and then in the end, mommy tells you how to live. Like, that isn't what they're doing. But so what is happening between that type of conditioning to where then we end up in these grown-up situations where then we have a scenario where it's either a man or a woman, but we started out with, let's just stay focused on women. Like, what are these women doing? Where
here's a theory, and now unfortunately I'm going to introduce a third topic. But here's the theory. Imagine a man and a woman going out on a first date, and they meet at an Italian restaurant, and they order a glass of wine, and then they talk. I think there's a fucking almost 0% chance they're going to slip into this problem, right?
Okay.
On the first date, both of them are going to really try hard to have a collaborative conversation, right?
Okay.
Now, they like each other. They date some more. They have sex. They start having a lot of sex. They move in together. Fast forward 5 years. Now they go out to dinner, and now they're the dude's on his phone looking at the soccer scores, and the chick's on her phone looking at Instagram, chatting about the gossip that's on Instagram, and now they've just succumbed to this fucking rut.
Okay, nice scenario. And what are we going to say has occurred?
That both of their motivation to engage in a collaborative conversation has gone down, so they've both sort of just sunk into their own lazy, selfish little fucking rut.
I love this third thing you've introduced, because now it's actually, we're holding both people accountable. Both people have contributed to this. We can't just say that, oh, women come in and they want to tell you about gossip, and then the boys don't talk about gossip properly, and so then they get scolded, and so then they start to be quiet, and then over time the woman is just meh 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 telling them, and then the guy is just like, please don't say anything else. Like,
Well, I mean, we got to some really important question, but it's hard to get the answer. So the question that we were asking is like, sometimes people vent and express their emotion to others, and it's productive, and it's like bonding between the two people.
yes.
But sometimes when they do it, it's not bonding, and it's almost like alienating, or it's stressful, or it's like, fucking get me away from that person.
Yes.
And and kind of the theory you're playing with, and I think there's something to it, but it's not super clear, is just sort of like internal locus of control versus external locus of control. Like if I'm having a hard time and then I just start blaming someone else for it, that state for someone, and I'm telling you about it, that state you just are like, fuck, Dave is unpleasant to be around. I want to get the fuck away from him.
Yeah.
Versus if I'm having a hard time and I come with you and I'm kind of like, fuck, porn, dude, I'm having a hard time. Help me out. Here's how I'm feeling. Then you're like happy to like talk with me and work with me on it.
Yeah, that's correct. As opposed to the alternative, I have a guy friend that frequently does this incorrectly. Like I remember one time someone broke into his car, and then he just started acting like the ref last night, just like hopping up and down like, motherfucker, this is so fucked up. And he was just literally like blanketing all of us, like, because we were all there. We were trying to get in the car to go surf. And so rather than just be like, oh shit, they broke into my car, like, fuck, all right, I'll have to deal with that. Instead, he was just like, everyone should feel how I feel. And we were all just like, fuck, dude. Like, fuck off. Stop trying to make us feel horrible. Like, and what is that called? What is that called?
I don't know, dude. It's kind of an important thing we're trying to put our finger on, and I don't fucking know, but it's so important to express your negative states in a way that like bonds people with you, and then you like are working it out with them emotionally, collaboratively, and then it's kind of like a win-win-win for everyone.
Fuck yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
But a lot of people don't do that.
Dude, I struggle with this personally, right? Because in the world, we all have to figure out how to deal with bad people and bad situations. And so we have to get what I think in psychology we talk, what do we call this? We call it, it's not expressing agency. It's the term we use is, what is it called when you properly stand up for yourself?
Assertiveness?
God damn it. Why didn't I? Yeah. So like I struggled in my life for whatever reasons because of like childhood difficulties and navigating massive systems that were like crazy to try to actually have your opinion validated, right? Mm-hmm. And so in my adult life, I find myself in these situations where if I don't stand up for myself, then I have this it's like Jordan Peterson. Like he'll get in these conflicts and then like for 3 days he just stews and suffers in his attic writing shit about it. And like, dude, that shit happens to me. I will stand up for myself, right? In some kind of a situation, whether it's a family member, somebody that like, particularly with romantic situations, right? Where somebody is behaving in a way that is really unfair to me. Mm-hmm. And then I have to somehow tell them and try to make this not happen. Right? So I have to text them back, or I have to say like, Your portrayal of me is inaccurate, and I'm not going to go along with this depiction of me. I'm not going to go along with the idea that I am faulty, right? Like you're saying I'm at fault, I'm a bad person, and I'm like, I'm not going to go along with that, right?
Yeah.
And then after I do that, I feel like internal, I feel anxiety afterwards.
After you stand up for yourself.
Yeah. And it doesn't, it like, if I choose to just not respond to the acquisition, like if it's a text that's like saying some crazy shit and I don't respond, then I don't feel good. If I respond and I say like, actually, what you meant to say was, hey, thanks for coming over and being so awesome, right? Like, because that's kind of being, I don't know what that's being. Like, I'm belittling them in a way, and then I don't feel good about that. But
the not feeling good is two different types of not feeling good?
No, it's all
same.
It all kind of feels similarly
same.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so it, in an attempt to navigate who is making the rules, are the rules fluid or are they rigid? Like in our interactions, and then if I try to say like, oh, this, what's happening is not working for me, that's really hard for me, and it makes me feel stressed out.
Yeah.
That would be my closest similarity to Jordan. Do you have what happens to you when you have to be assertive and either push somebody away or like, is it easy for you? Like, what happens to you?
Well, I mean, there's some ways in which being assertive is really easy, and they probably are in the category of, I don't really care if the person hates me. Like most people in the world, I don't care if they hate me. And then I can be super assertive. Like if I'm at the grocery store and someone's doing some bullshit, I can fucking be assertive or, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there's some other contexts kind of where I've decided, oh, that fucker just did something wrong. I need to be assertive. And I can kind of be like, and if I need to burn the bridge of this relationship, I don't give a fuck. Then I can be assertive. But if it's someone that I want to keep the relationship nice, then I start to feel kind of like you. I start to feel between a rock and a hard place, and it feels bad because I want them to like me, and I want it to remain positive.
Yeah.
But now they're doing a thing that makes it hard, and so it's like
Yeah. So like, I don't know. It's like we're pointing out a second universal principle. Of like,
I think this is another different topic. It's also important, but it's probably related. But back to the topic before, it's more like if I'm having a hard time and then I come to you as a friend or just as a third party, and I'm going to try to get your help with me processing it.
Yeah,
that was what we were talking about before. And then now this new topic is if you and I kind of are in conflict, and that's a different, I think, even more challenging thing.
Yeah. Well, because after a while, this exchange that we talked about, where someone is inappropriately inundating the relationship with negative emotion, and then you're trying to you're like, hey, this is every day it's grinding on me, and it's starting to actually like cause me distress.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right? And so
then we've moved from the first one to the second one.
Yeah,
right?
So now we're in the second one, and you have to be assertive. You have to let them know. And I don't know what my underlying deal is. Clearly in life, I'm gonna have to.
You just have to like set aside time, sit down with them, and be like, "Yo, buddy, this is not working. Let's collaborate on this. Let's figure out a new way to do this because the way we are doing it is not working." And then if you can have a good, productive, collaborative conversation, you probably can come to an agreement, and then you'll probably feel fine.
Yeah, but what if it's if it's your girlfriend and you're like, hey, let's talk about this, and then each thing that you bring up is then completely met with like, what are you saying? Like, you want to say it's this? It's clearly you.
Well, then that's now you got a fucking problem, because you're gonna have to keep having that fight until ideally it gets resolved and both sides can see the other person's side.
And do you recommend that people actually like sit there and like go back and forth and back and forth?
As long as the conversation is productive. If it just gets angry and yelling, then it's better just to take space.
Yeah, if when you say, like, hey, what you're doing is kind of wigging me out. Like, every time you come home, like, the first thing you do is you walk in and you just hit me with some kind of bad experience in the world, and it somehow feels like I'm part of it.
Yeah.
And like, please don't do that. And then, like...
Okay, so then if your girlfriend is like, oh, shit, that sounds like a problem. Like, let's sit down and try to come up with a plan how to not have that happen anymore, then yes, you should have that talk, because that's a productive call. If she's like, what? No, it's because you, blah, 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 and then you're like, no, fuck you, then that's not productive, and there's no need to engage in that.
And that's where we wrap up today, is those unproductive versus productive contact.
Yeah, dude, fuck.